Cool. Alrighty, welcome everyone to day 2 of our webinar series. I am Nat, the Sustainability Manager at Reclaim, and I am super excited to first hear from yesterday's speakers and have an awesome lineup for today as well. So today we celebrate, before actually we celebrate, quick webinar housekeeping rules. So you will have the ribbon at the top of your screen where you have chat, Q&A, React, camera, and mic. All participants or all attendees are on a listen-only mode, which means your cameras are off and your mic is off. We do still want you to interact as much as possible, so you have the option of reacting with your react buttons, so you can let the speakers know that you are engaged and you are enjoying the content, but also feel free to ask any questions. Please do so through the Q&A, because if we don't get to answer all the questions, we can still come back to you post this webinar being over. Alrighty, so Waste-Free Tuesday. If we keep on going down the waste minimization hierarchy, today's focus is on that reduce or refuse as much as possible. So saying no to waste is essentially the best strategy to phase waste out. Not having waste to start with makes things a lot easier when it comes to the disposal of it. So to help us illustrate this daily focus, we are joined by Zero Waste Network and Repair Cafe, which are two organizations that have been dealing with that refuse focus for a long time. Now, I believe I will let Brigitte and Sue introduce themselves in the role that they do within both of these organizations, but I believe we'll go through Brigitte's slides first. Now, Brigitte, I'll just quickly zoom past Sue's slides. Oh, spoilers. And Brigitte, if you can, the floor is yours.
Kia ora, everyone. We are so excited to be able to participate in Recycling Week Aotearoa, which is facilitated by Reclaim, and joining you for Waste-Free Tuesday. So can we have, please, the next slide? Okay, great. So yes, as many of you will be aware, the Ministry for the Environment released a new waste strategy in late March this year. And this, in fact, includes repair. Yay, as part of reuse, as Nat mentioned. So it's really about, keeping things in use for longer, as making it possible for significant sort of reduction of new products to be introduced into the circulation. If we could get the next slide, please. So repair cafes are all about people coming together and helping each other fixing stuff. So how this happens is like there are pop-up events where repair volunteers offer their expertise to repair visitors. And the beauty of this is not a service, a drop-off service. It actually is like people can participate in the repair. So they sit together with the repairer and they observe, how the product is dismantled, how it's designed, possibly designed for obsolescence. And then they also learn, what is the fault and how to fix the fault if it's possible to repair. So they're a lot of fun, they're educational, they bring people together, community resilience building, and and they are a growing movement in Aotearoa. Next slide, please. So by now, we have over 50 repair cafes all across the country happening on a regular basis. And when you go onto our website, we'll put the link onto the chat shortly. Then you will see that we have over 30 repair cafes happening every month by now. It's just so exciting to see the uptake of this, and the empowerment of communities. By the way, they get often supported by councils, which is really fantastic, and this is what we would like to see. Kia ora, next slide, please. So yes, the concept of repair cafes actually comes from the Netherlands, and the first repair cafe ever held was in October 29 in Amsterdam. And Martine Postma, an environmental journalist, she made it to her mission to bring repair cafes all across the globe. And also, they then reached our shores. And the first repair cafe was held in 2013 in Littleton. And then we had, through the Base Mineralisation Innovation Fund in Auckland, for 2 years, Repair Cafe Auckland running and introducing repair cafes. And after that, the steering committee decided to go nationwide to share resources because we were also entering the COVID pandemic phase. Now, in essence, repair cafes, they're all about, waste reduction, of course, strengthening communities, as I already mentioned, and sharing resources like tools and so forth, and saving money. Important, right? And also respecting limited resources on this beautiful planet. And also the educational sector, as I already talked about. And of course, also the right to repair, because if we as consumers do not have manuals or the right tools to access our products, then that is not very helpful. So that's why Repair Cafe Aotearoa is also involved in the right to repair movement as well. Next slide, please. And what is very helpful in campaigning for the right to repair is, of course, statistics, as you can imagine. So Repair Cafe Aotearoa actually joined a digital platform, the Restarters, where we enter all the Repair Cafe data that is accumulated at a repair cafe. So here's an example of the Nelson Whakatū Repair Cafe. They had 19 events over the past 2 years, and they actually prevented 876 kgs, from going to landfill, and also a huge amount, of CO2, prevented as well. Then with the Repair Cafe coordinators, we did a survey in May for International Volunteer Week, and we found that 26 repair cafes participated, and they have 451 volunteers in total, of which 379 identify as repair volunteers. The others are maybe the coordinators and organizers, or they make the lovely cafe aspect of a repair cafe. And so we ran 233 repair cafes over 12 months, which is pretty awesome. And which makes 12,125 volunteer hours. Bravo. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, as a national organization, it's really our job to provide resources and support to repair cafes. So we put together the Repair Cafe Handbook, and that was released and launched in May this year, and is specific to Aotearoa. All the different laws sort of considering, as well as our volunteer management. And so this is available via our website through the Give a Little page. And it has supported of recent quite a few repair cafes that have started to join the movement. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, so in summary, our mission is to promote and facilitate a repair culture in Aotearoa. And we do this by bringing people together on the grassroots level, but we also bring together, developed an infrastructure of community, businesses, which includes the education sector, and government agencies. So if all these pillars come together and we sing from the same song sheet, then repair will be really easy, and for us to, to have a life and a living sort of culture in Aotearoa again. And as I mentioned, the right to repair movement is really important. So we wrote a petition, which was launched in October 2020, and we are expecting now the first right to repair bill to be presented to Parliament in the next term. So it's exciting news. Next slide, please. So you can actually help us, learn a little bit more about people's thoughts on repair and the experience with repairers. Repairing items, we currently still run a survey that closes on the 31st of October. And I will put the link into the chat as well. So you are welcome to participate, and we will share a report in November, which will be available on our website as well. Last slide, please. And we like to extend our invitation to the Repair Summit, which is an online event which we hold on International Repair Day, which is in fact this Saturday. It's an online event between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. that's featuring repair initiatives and some research as well. And it's free to register, and the link will be here, which I will be able to share with you in the chat as well. And this is me for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brigitte. I already have so many questions, so I am excited for the Q&A to come up. But I'll hand it over through to Sue. I'll just go back the slides. Sue, are you there?
Yes, I hope so.
Yes, I can hear you. Alrighty, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much. Sorry, just a few technical difficulties getting in. So I'm on my phone in the cupboard downstairs, so trying to just find a quiet space. Hey, everybody. Yeah, great to have a chance to talk with you guys on Recycling Week. And yeah, I guess I'm here today representing Zero Waste Network. That's a nationwide network of organisations that are really focused on zero waste kaupapa. And we whakapapa back to an organisation called CBEC up in Kaitaia, which was the first one of these places that was established back in 1989. It was established because in the 1980s we had a lot of changes happen, which meant that local economies, especially in rural areas, really struggling. And the local people in Kaitaia decided that a really great way to create jobs and local economic development was to start to do some recycling, reuse, and get into the business side of that. Now they basically set a few parameters for how we all work now around the country. They're our grandfather, and so they kind of set the scene or the model of how we all work. And their name gives us a few clues as well. So the Community Business and Environment Centre is one of the early versions of organisations which really connected the idea of using business to do good for the environment and for society. And so it's a very specific model where you use business as a tool to create positive social and environmental outcomes rather than, obviously it's very good as a tool for making money, but we can actually use it as a tool for creating good. So second part of, that model is that kaupapa-driven way of approaching the world. So you might be hearing a bit more about purpose-driven business or business that's really intending to achieve a certain goal or outcome. And so we've been doing that for about 20 years in relation to establishing zero-waste strategies and communities. And the third piece of the puzzle that's really important to us is that we're deeply embedded in local communities. So there's two parts to that. That one part that really our organisations around the country enable people in their communities, households and businesses to access useful services like Biggie just talked a bit about repair services, but also recycling, reuse. Lots of people looking to get their small businesses or their households involved in those types of things. And then the second part is that really try to engage people, take them on a journey. So we use recycling as a vehicle to take people up the waste hierarchy to the next step. And so while they might show up at our sites with a big box of recycling, they might go away with some ideas about how they can buy differently or live differently, a part of a zero waste lifestyle shift, to have a bit of a different approach to how things might be. So just wanted me to Reclaim, who really played a big part in our network, helping people to get going with recycling, and so really value partnerships and relationships as part of our model as well. Okay, I can click to the next slide. Yeah, so why do we do this? A lot of people think it's all about landfills and all about, stopping getting stuff into the landfill, but really it's all about stopping unnecessary things being created in the first place. In my lifetime, the population, since the 1970s, our global population's gone up 2 times, but our resource use has gone up 4 times. So we're using basically twice as much stuff per head to meet our wants and needs. That's having obvious ecosystem damage, a lot of land use change, creating a lot of pollution. Got climate change as a consequence of all the energy that goes into producing goods and services. And we've also got biodiversity loss. So really for us, the reason that we're involved in this is to go up the chain and to stop these negative effects happening at the beginning of the system, rather than being really focused on trying to, mop stuff up at the bottom of the cliff and think about whether we might want to be able to do that by landfilling. So the the thing you can notice when you look at this linear, materials economy, we're really pulling massive amount of material from the environment into our economy. We use it really inefficiently. We discard it very quickly. So a lot of stuff is discarded after only a few uses, if greater than one. So, okay, click to the next slide, please. Yeah, so what we have to think about when we're thinking about what does responsible resource use look like, and how can we avoid these upstream impacts from extracting so much from our environment, is how can we shift into the spaces that Brigitta's already talked about, which are the circular spaces. So this is the waste hierarchy, which a lot of you will have already heard about. And a really handy way to think about it is as a big funnel. So we really want to slow things down. We want to change the business models that we're using to feed materials and products into this system in the first place. And when we do create things, we really want to be using models that regenerate the ecosystems and the natural world. So we need to apply quite a different lens to our production system. It's not just about, have we got a safe way of disposing of things at the end of their life? It's really about what's the new model that we need to use to think about what we're creating in the first place. And so as you can see, like, one of the things that's become really topical in New Zealand the last few months or the last year or so is the idea of whether incineration is a good idea. Like, shall we, if we can't bury, burying stuff is not a great idea, so would burning it be a better idea? And I think that that's something which is, we're seeing proposals popping up in a lot of small communities around the country. We really got to start thinking about how we can approach that. So as you can see, waste incineration and landfilling right at the very bottom of the waste hierarchy. So incineration is not an alternative to landfilling. It's just another version of disposal. Okay, can you click over? And then what we're seeing is that in New Zealand at the moment, we've got a lot of companies coming to small communities around the country, places like Fielding, up in Kaipara, Te Awamutu, down in Waimati, down south, and they're targeting these small communities because they have limited resources to be able to investigate the claims that are being made about these big proposals, and they're also vulnerable to, some of the greenwash claims about how these proposals might create jobs and local economic development. And there's three things I would say about the claims that are being made about these proposals, why we feel that they fit into the greenwash category rather than the genuine, positive benefits category. One is that they take us in the wrong direction. And so instead of taking us up into that circular economy space, they keep us down in that linear disposal mindset. Circular, over in the European Union, there's been people doing incineration for quite a while, but what they've come out recently and said is that incineration is not considered to be a sustainable economic development strategy. It's an inefficient use of resources, and that it works against shift to the circular economy, waste reduction and recycling. And one of the biggest problems with it is that you have, if you're looking at incineration, one of the things that burns the best in an incinerator is plastic. And obviously plastic is made from fossil fuels. And so fossil fuels, we burn fossil fuels, we all know what happens with that. We end up with carbon emissions. And so incinerators generate carbon emissions. They don't help us to shift towards an economy that supports emissions reduction. So one of the other questions, one of the other things you hear people say, like they're saying this in Te Awamutu at the moment, is totally safe. Yeah, it's all going to be good for people and the local ag and hort industry. And what we know is that when you burn a lot of plastics and other manufactured materials in an incinerator, it releases a lot of dioxins. And dioxins are chemical compounds which are hazardous to human health, and that they're endocrine disruptors. They build up in the food chain and in the and that means that they stay there for a long time. And what the endocrinologist says that the safe level of exposure for people and animals is 0. And what the World Health Organization says is that the best way to avoid having exposure to dioxins is not to create sources of these types of emissions. So an incinerator facility, for example, would be a source of this type of emission. So, while the claims that are made by the companies is that these plants emit very low levels of dioxin, very low level toxins are all that's needed to create a harmful effect in the environment. And then the third thing that they often say is that it's going to create a lot of jobs and local economic development. But what we know is that activities like reduction, like reuse and repair create 10 times as many jobs, recycling as well, 10 times as many jobs as disposal options would. Okay, can you click on? So what we're seeing is around New Zealand, we've got a lot of small communities who are being faced with these incinerator proposals. And what we've discovered is that you never know when one's going to pop up, and it's a small town near you. So that's the reason that I've just given you guys a bit of a heads up about these things. We've seen them pop up all down the west coast, Waimate, Fielding, Te Awamutu, now looking up in Kaipara to see whether they can get an incinerator up there. And this is a picture from the Te Awamutu community is organising themselves to fight against an incinerator proposal there. The public, they managed to get the proposal publicly notified, which meant that everyone could write in their opinions about what they think about this proposal, which was really great. So having that democratic process where we can all have our say about it is very good. And these guys have just been on a big march through town. There's like 400 or 500 people in Te Awamutu march through the main street as a display of their dissatisfaction with the idea of establishing a big incineration facility right in the middle of their town. So that they have put some hard work into thinking about what are the issues associated with this facility. A lot of the people that came to the public meetings were saying, oh, when I first heard about it, I thought it was a really good idea, make our problems go away. But then I realized it was just waste is just a symptom of the real problem, and it's not going to solve the problem long term. It's going to create a lot of side effects that are going to be harmful for us as a community, take our community in the wrong direction. So I just wanted to use this. If you want to click on, that's the end for me. But yeah, just wanted to give you guys a heads up about, we sometimes think that we've moved on a long way from the early days where we had to convince people that it was there were better ways of dealing with materials than disposal. But it seems like we've gone back to the past and we're having to fight those battles again. So yeah, just wanted to let you know that there's a lot of people working on these things, and if you hear about, proposals in your own community coming up, let us know, or let some of the other communities that have already been through this before know, so that you can get some good information that might help you to make a good decision about that. That's it for me.
Thank you, Sue. And Brigitte, this has been a very compelling argument as to why we should say no to waste. And I think thank you, Sue, for breaking it down, what the outcome of it is when we're looking at landfill and incineration and all that. And I guess on Brigitte, on your side, the role that keeping materials in circulation through repair play. Now, I have a few questions myself, but I'm just popping in to see what the questions have been from everyone. My main, both of you guys obviously touching on that circular economy piece, which in my view is, do you both believe in the current economy that we're in the current society, that a circular economy is achievable?
I guess I've got an opinion about that. What I'd say is that, shifting to a different way, like if we think about Sustainable Development Goal 12, that talks about what does responsible production and consumption look like. And for us to really shift into a new space, we have to think about different ways of using materials and products and the things that we bring into our world, and also different ways of using energy. And we have to really value resource efficiency in a radically different way than we have so far. That's for both energy and materials. And I think that we have got a long way to go. We've got to fundamentally transform the business models that we're using to put goods on the shelves and to put services in the market. And that is going to take a lot of experimentation and, basically a lot of investment to shift us into a new space. We're seeing a lot of consumers really starting to go, we want to buy things. We want the businesses to do the hard work of making sure that the things I go to buy, I don't have to think, for weeks about whether I buy this shirt or that shirt. I don't want to have to stand in the supermarket aisle, dithering over whether I'm buying this can of stuff or that can of stuff. We really need businesses to put in the hard work to put good stuff on the shelves. But it's a very complicated and long-term change management process for ourselves as a country.
Brigitte, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, what I'd like to add to Sue is, and what you already mentioned, is like consumer power. So,
Yeah.
and that's where repair cafes really come into play as well, because it's all about behavior change and people becoming aware of the effects, that products have on the environment. And so if we offer this, to people to learn, and then they can make more informed choices. And also, repair also is interlinked with product stewardship, as Sue mentioned as well. So it's about, designing products. By repairing, you learn how a product is designed, and also how it is designed for obsolescence. So this actually offers a voice for people, to say, hello, I'm waking up to this, and this really needs to change if we want to move towards a circular system. Kia ora.
Thank you. And that actually leads me into my next question, and that's, so feel free to jump in, but more to Brigitte on, I often hear about, the cost to repair versus the cost of a new material. And a lot of the times, it is cheaper to buy a new washing machine than it is to fix the one I already have. What's your position on that?
Well, as we both alluded to, like the products are designed, to only last for a short while. So what we need to do is, design products that are actually lasting long and are repairable. And this may mean a stronger investment to start with, but it also keeps the product, stays with you for a much longer time. It's much more retainable. So yeah, repair is currently more expensive, but I'm sure there are systems that we can develop, and also the producer can actually include, implement and integrate repair, and repair costs into the product design. So there are many more options, that are actually possible. And we would love to have more conversations about this. So thanks.
What
Yeah.
about you, Sue? Have you got anything to add?
Well, yeah, I think one of the interesting things about it is that we have got into the almost like a habit or a mindset that things aren't going to last for very long. It used to be a shock that they would only last for a couple of years, but now we kind of go, it's probably only going to last for a few years. And one of the things that we've been advocating for, along with the other people that are working on the repair side of the world, is longer warranties and guarantees, so that if you put something onto the market, you have to guarantee that it will last for a certain period of time, so that people can make it, they can feel like it's worthwhile spending the extra money to get something that's a bit better quality. And something really useful that Paul from Consumer often talks about, and some of you may have heard him speak about this, is that for most products, there's only 2 or 3 things that really go wrong with them. So it's not like you have to have a massive backlog of parts everywhere, or you have to have these very complicated ways of dealing with it. Now, if you think about your phone as a good example, it's usually the most common things that happen is your battery goes flat, stops charging, your charger breaks, or you lose it, or you break the screen. And so you really, with your phone, you've only got 3 big issues that you need to worry about. And all you have to do is, when you're designing your phone, you make sure that those 3 things are easy to plug in, plug out. And so people often will, Brigitte and I both spoke at the select committee a few weeks ago where they were considering repair. And one of the common questions was, the horse is bolted, it's all too complicated, it's all too hard. And I think that it really isn't. When you break it down, you start going, well, we've looked at these washing machines, and this is the common part that's failing every single time. So that's the one that needs to be strengthened in the design, or it needs to be readily available so someone can just plug a new one in. So I think that the tools are there. People are using them overseas. There's no reason why we can't do it here in New Zealand.
I 100% agree with you, and it's a mindset shift as well on us, being willing to look at the warranty and being willing as consumers to make the right choice. We've gone over time, but I do have a final question for both of you, which is, there's a lot of people on the call that are obviously keen to reduce their waste and keen to move towards a circular economy. So what is an easy first or simple step that anyone and everyone can do when it comes to reducing their waste?
Okay, so I guess that it would be thinking about what are the main things you buy or spend your money on. Is it clothes? Is it food? Is it lots of takeaways. You know, like just have a look at your food, at your bank statement, see where your money's going, and then go, well, what can I do? What's a simple step I can take with this? You know, like if you're going out a lot, buying a lot of takeaway food, taking it back to the office, takeaway coffees, get yourself a reusable and a takeaway cup. You know, like a reusable cup. If you're looking at your you know, the food that you're buying, then think about how you can buy more unpackaged, you know, stuff. And if it's clothes, then there's a lot of good ideas around how, you know, like the 6-item challenge, and thinking about how you can create a wardrobe and feel good. You know, it's not about feeling like you can't buy stuff and you have to walk around in clothes from 5 years ago. It's actually about how can you really make, you know, you can buy half a dozen things a year, is what people are saying, and still be operating sustainably. But just make sure you're really choosing wisely when you're buying them. Things that are going to last for a whole season, things that are not going to be washed once, fall to bits, you know. So that would be mine. Yeah, try to keep it as super simple as you can. You know, don't get overwhelmed because there's so many different ways that people tell you, you know, if you recycle every last bottle top, you're going to be, you know, but you know, have a look and see what you're spending most of your money on. Start there.
What about you, Brigitte? What's your passing wisdom?
I quite like the slogan, use less for longer. You know, just and also adding to Sue, you know, just choose wisely, you know, what you purchase. And also what happens, you know, when you repair or maintain, you actually develop a relationship with your belongings. And that's really important and quite significant. And so you actually start caring about, you know, what you own and looking for ways, you know, of keeping it longer. So that would be one of my tips.
Thank you so much for both of you guys and for everyone attending the webinar. I've certainly learned a lot, and I hope you all have too. Please come back tomorrow. We are celebrating Reusable Wednesday tomorrow, and we have another lineup of great speakers. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and see the areas where you can reduce your waste. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. See ya.